Okay guys, this is the Voyager video. We can talk quickly about a couple of things that will help you get started with the Voyager. So first of all, we can talk about crews. There are two things that the Voyager is used for. The first thing is to hit these new hostiles. It's a couple different kinds of new hostiles that you hit, but the same crew works okay for both of them. One hostile is just in the Velexus space, along with Etana and Derivio, and if you keep going down this list, they're in all these spaces. And they contain the special Hirigen loot that you use for your daily chest for the Voyager. And so you'll need to hit a lot of those. You can hit, you can stack them up obviously, and hit them all in just a couple of days, and then have your loot for a week or two. I've had my loot for quite a long time since I've been focusing on hitting them right when the Voyager started, right when the Voyager came out. And the second thing that you'll do is you'll mine with the Voyager. So after you open those chests and you do the next things that we're going to talk about, you'll eventually get some tokens for the mining spaces that are up here. That's these mining spaces. This FSEP 505 is one of them. It uses a special token called a Delta Quadrant Warp Cell. There's only a couple of mines in there. The Voyager mines those, mines that loot very quickly. Other miners have been mining in there. They're not really allowed anymore. At least you can hit them if they're in there. But the Voyager is definitely the best thing to use for it because it's very fast, and the other miners are quite slow. There's a higher warp system down here once you get big enough. That you can maybe avoid some of the riffraff from the lower system, sending horizons and weird stuff in there. This one's pretty hard to get to with regular miners. It's basically just the special research from the Voyager that lets you get to that space. So here's the first type of hostile that you can hit. The hostiles that are in here are these Hirigen Elite hostiles. You'll see they give you this Hirigen loot. Hirigen relics. Also, every once in a while, you'll see a trader in here. It'll just give you more. There's nothing particularly special about it. It might have a slightly different firing pattern, I'm not sure. But what you get from that is it's just got more loot in it. So there's not that many of them. They pop up every once in a while, kind of like they do in the Borg systems, where you get a random one. Now you'll see we have someone doing their dailies here, and so they're summoning these ships. The way that you summon those ships is you hit this yellow button, and you use this daily loot that you get. You get 3 of these a day, assuming you do the triple pull for the chests for your Voyager. And you should definitely be doing the triple pull for the daily chests for the Voyager, because 3 of those things let you hit 3 of those special mobs, the special ships. And those ships give you the kind of hard to get loot. They give you that special biotoxin that we just showed there. They're the interceptor type you saw as well. And that's a hostile that's not hard to kill at the 35 level, but as you go up higher, they'll get harder and harder to kill. They do have a special ability that will just kill you in round 8. So the crew that you should use to fight those is kind of a very damage-oriented crew. So you don't really have to worry so much about living, generally speaking. You're probably going to live unless you get to round 8. You just have to make sure that you can kill them before round 8. And you see they're like a 3 billion hostile. It's something crazy. The reason why you can kill them is because your ship has a special ability that does plus whatever it is at your tier. So mine's 65,000% against those special DQ hostiles. So you can put out plenty of damage and get those things dead. Now, I'm using a 5 crew, 5 with Gorkon and Kang, for maximum damage against those interceptors. I'm using 5 because the loot that you get from them is very valuable and you want as much of it as possible. So I'm using 5, and I'm using the Doctor underneath. If you have the Doctor for the extra 15%, go ahead and do it. And I'm also using Hugh for the crit chance. You need the crit chance as much as you can because, like I said, they're going to kill you in round 8. So you need as much damage as you can put out. If you don't have Hugh, you most definitely need to substitute Kang for Khan or something, so you can have some crit chance in there. Now what you want to do is you want to move up this system, and if you follow these systems up here, up to Atana and farther, all the way down to Azel A, and then eventually once you get really high, you'll get down here somewhere, right? If you follow these systems down, you go to the biggest system that you can get to, and you summon that ship. The ships will get bigger, and they'll get more and more loot as you go farther down. So you want as much as you can. Now we can quickly talk about the other crew. The other crew, obviously, I'm not going to change the crew on that ship really right now, but the other mining crew is completely storage. You just want as much storage as you can possibly get. So if you look at the crew that I would use this crew on the Voyager, obviously, and I'm using 2 with 4 and Ston, which all give you some storage ability as well as law underneath, just maximizing the storage as much as possible. There's not much storage on the Voyager, so you need as much as you possibly can when you go into that token space, because that is the limiting factor. The Voyager mines the loot very quickly. You don't need to worry about any kind of mining crews. You just need storage. Now my tier 2 Voyager has 57 base because of the research and just being tier 2. Mine goes up to about 70k when I put the storage officers on it, and it's 100% worth it. Now, when you first get your Voyager, you might not have that much. Let's look quickly at the research that you should do. The new research is all in this area, in the starships area. It's over past the Cerritos stuff, and it's right here. So when you very first get your Voyager and you're trying to figure out what to do, what you need to do is go one tier in everything all the way down to Voyager cargo. And you see there's actually quite good boosts in here for Voyager cargo for the first couple of them. You can get to 200 pretty quickly. I'm maxed out at 5 for a 233% bonus. You'll want to go basically as much as you can in the cargo, because maximizing those tokens is the best thing for you in the early game. After you're working on maxing this cargo down here, the next most useful thing I found was the antimatter recycler, which is the thing that gives you more warp range. That's because you want more warp range to get to the higher systems, to get more loot, to get more tokens, basically. So as much as you can, we have to kind of work between this Voyager cargo and this antimatter recycler, and then just for the rest of it, it's kind of at your own discretion on what you like the best. I obviously I got some impulse speed for all my ships. All the rest of it's just in the line. I think this one's quite useful. It gives you extra loot from the chest that you get. It also, whenever you get it, it resets your chests. You'll notice that the chests have long times on them. We can go over the times just after this, but that's something else that I found quite interesting to get. And then there's a Voyager loot special ability as well that just gives you more loot from hitting hostiles. So again, more loot's better. That's kind of the overview of the research down there and the different ways that you can use the Voyager. Just note, when you go into these systems, there's not very many nodes in those systems, and there are 2 kinds of nodes. There's the common loot and the rare loot that you're going to mine. You'll notice there's 2 little kind of icons down there. There's also a whole bunch of hostiles in there. If you're really big and you have like an Ops 46 ship that's 30, 40 million, something like this, it is possible that you can load that ship out and go hit those hostiles and get probably more loot than you could get with the Voyager, and it's kind of small cargo. But for most people, that's not going to be the best way to do it. It's just to go in there and mine. As far as other advice, yeah, it's really just make sure that you go to that, go to your research, make sure you get the cargo done first, and we can talk about the chests now and what times they show up. So if you go down here, there's a new refinery for the USS Voyager. There's the first one, the Hydrogen Loot Exchange, is every day. That's where you hit the regular red hostiles and you get the little skulls. You turn those in every day. I have like 60,000 of them. I forget what this is daily, but you can do a triple pull of that really easily, and you should, because that gives you the deuterium to activate the special ability and get the loot from the special ships that come attack you. That's how you trigger the next loot exchange, which happens every 3 days. It's not daily. So you can possibly do 2 or 3 chest pulls of that every 3 days. It's easy, fairly easy, if you use all of your deuterium to call those ships, and you're using 5 and you have a fairly decent 5 to get the double pull. It's kind of difficult to get the triple pull until you get the warp range to go up to the higher systems, and you get more loot per fight, basically. So when you very first get it, maybe 2 pulls is okay, but you should be trying to get 3 pulls when you can of the 8472 loot. And then the 8472 loot is the thing that gives you the tokens. So every one of those chests gives you a token to go in the token space, and that lets you mine either common or rare stuff for the common or rare sample exchanges. These are 5 and 7 days, respectively. So this is a fairly long-winded grind here. It is advantageous to pull more of the commons before you start pulling the rares. There's some things that are in the common chest that are basically the same as what they are in the rare chests, and the common chests are a lot less expensive as far as just total amount of cargo to get. So doing a triple pull of the common, or doing a double pull of the common and a single of the rare, each week, is kind of where you want to be. If you can get a triple pull of the common and a single of the rare, that's probably the most that you can imagine that you would get. Doing a double pull of the rare is quite difficult. But you'll see that these chests give you the ability to get these commerce items. And some of these items are quite useful for people to help them get along with a lot of the grinds they've had before. I'm especially using the one for the amalgam. It gives you more amalgam parts than you get usually, and you get to pull this every day. I think I get 8,000 out of this commerce chest, and I usually only get 4,000 or 5,000 out of the regular amalgam that I pull every 3 days. So that's a huge boost in the amount, in the speed that you can upgrade your amalgam. Also, the Cerritos is kind of similar. You don't get that many Cerritos parts, but this chest you could pull technically every day, as long as you do all your grinds and you get enough of these insignia things. I don't really care about any of the rest of these things, but some people care about different things. And that's about it. You do have to be slightly careful whenever you call this mob in. I mean, you see that that there was someone else in here doing it, and I saw their attacker, and so someone can just fight your attacker and kind of like steal your loot. You do have to worry about that, or you might have to worry about that. I haven't had it happen to me, but it can definitely happen. And people on other servers are more warlike than ours. And what is the last thing? There's probably something else that we need to talk about. Maybe if I look around. Nope. One more thing to note is that these chests, since they do have very long times, when you tier up your Voyager, the chest reset. And also when you get that +1 artifact roll, that research that I pointed out, these chest reset, the 5 and the 7 day ones. So you can make really good use of that if you have just pulled them, and then you go do that research, and they reset right away. So you can save yourself quite a few days that way. I remember now, the last thing that you need to remember is that they added a new section in the field training for the Voyager. Make sure you go here. So after everything you do on the Voyager, make sure you come here and finish some of these things, because there's a really, really good loot that will help you speed up all your Voyager stuff. As I had like 11 tokens. That's because there are +10 tokens in this last thing I picked up. So don't forget about this new section. It does kind of like guide you on the different things that it wants you to do, and so it'll kind of go over when you do the things that I was just talking about, you'll just get those those field training initiatives finished, and you grab those and you can tier it up or do some more research. That's about it, guys. Fun hunting with your Voyager.